Hi, this is Lord Chambered. Welcome to another episode of the Swim of Smart Contact Development series. Today, I'm going to be talking about control flow. So, heading over to the move book, you'd see that control flows are used to control the flow of execution in a program. They are used to make decisions, repeat a block of code, or exit a block of code early. So, here are different control flows in move program language. We have the if else statements, we have the while loops, we have the break and continue statements, we have the return statements. So if you're a complete beginner, really stress for you, but if you're not new to programming, I would advise you skip this video because it's be for complete beginners. So starting with the if statement, let's read from the new book. You'd see the if statement is used to make decision in a program. It evaluates a Boolean expression and executes a block of code. If the expression is true, paired with else, it can execute a different block of code if the expression is false. So now, let's head over to VS Code and let's practice each statement. So coming back to VS Code, to start an if statement, you have to use the keyword if. Then you have to open a bracket where you have to put your condition. So let me come up here and name a variable. Let me call it score. And let me give it 40. So I can come here and give my condition, which can either be true or false. So I can say if my score is greater than 40, then I have to do something. So what am I doing? I can choose to print pass or fail. So let me import debug. So now if my score is greater than 40, let me print so let me print you passed. So let's test this program. I'll head over to this extension called Swi Runner or Swim Runner. So I'll come here and click on the run tests. If you would notice, nothing happened because why? Our score is 40. We actually said if score is greater than 40, print you passed. So our score is not greater than 40. It's actually equal to 40. So before that, let me do something. So before I do this, let me come here and print this. Let me say, let's condition equal to score greater than 40. So now, if I print this condition, actually going to be false. Let me print the condition. So let me run my test again. So if you would notice, we printed out false. So that's what is actually happening here. This our condition. This condition here was false. That is why this block of code did not run. So let me come back here and comment this. Then comment these two codes and let me say score greater than 45. This will actually be true. Sorry, this will still be false because our score is not still greater than 45. So let me change our score to, let's say, 55. And now let's say if score is greater than 45, then you passed. So let me run the test again. So if you noticed, we printed you passed. Why? Because this condition was true. Our score is greater than 45. So now, what if we want to also print, what if now, just like the way, let me change it back to 40. You know, score is no longer greater than 45, and this condition will be false. So now, what if you want to do something else if your score is not greater than 55, just like before? So, what will you do? Let's say I want to print something else if my score is not greater than 45, just like before. I can use an else statement. So now, if this is false, I want to do something else. So now, doing that, I use the else statement. But this time, I don't need to put the brackets because I'm only doing something else when this other condition here is not met. So now, here now, I can copy this now and say, I'll change it to you failed. Now, let me change my score to 15. And let's run the test again. Now, you'll see you failed. So, what's happening here is the compiler starts from the top. It checks this first condition. If the condition is true, it runs this code. Then, let's say, just like this place now, our condition is false. If this condition here is false, it skips this block and goes to the next block and run this code. So that what happens with the if and else statement. So let me bring out a flow chart. So if you look at this flow chart, first of all, it checks a particular condition. If the condition is true, it runs the code inside this particular block, just like here, now VS Code. It runs this particular code. So coming back into our flow charts, it checks if it's true, it runs this code and come here and stops. So now come back up again, it checks the condition. If this condition is false, it comes down here and run this particular block of code and ends the code. So aside the if and else statements, we have the else if statement. So now let me give an analogy where you need the else if statement. So now let me use a grading system. Now here now I said if score is greater than 45. Now let me use 90 in the normal grading system. Now let's say okay, let me use 70. Let's say if score is greater than 70, let me print something like you got an A. So now what if the student got 60? You know the student did not fail, right? 60 is not a fail. So we need another block to do that. Now we can't use an if statement again. Now this time we have to use an else if statement. So let me come back here and let me see. Else if score is greater than, let's say, let me just use 40. Then here, let me print something like you passed. So now, what will happen here is it will first of all check this first condition. Is score greater than 70? If score is greater than 70, it would say, yeah, you got an E. And it will not check this other block of code. The code will just stop. The compiler will skip these other two blocks of code and stop. But if, let's say, the user got something like, let's say, 50, since this condition was not met, it will skip and check the next condition. So now, let me change this now to 50 now. 55, yeah. it will skip and check the other condition. If this condition was met, it will say you pass. So if this condition was not met again, it will skip and go to this next condition. But if this condition was met, it will not check this condition, it will move. So now let me run the test again to show you what I'm talking about. So now, if you look at it now, it printed you passed. If you notice, this condition was met. So it did not check that condition again. So one thing again, why coding? You can have only one else statement after an if statement, but you can have a lot of else if statements. So now let me copy this again. Let me make this a full grading system. Now let me say if score is greater than 60, let me copy this. Yeah. Now let me say you got a B. Now let me check again. If score is greater than 50, let me say you got C. Now if score is greater than 45, let me see. You got D. Let me copy this else statement again. And let me paste it here. Now let me say if score is greater than 40, you got E. Then else, let's say you got F. So now let me test this code again and let's see the results. Let me click on run tests. So now you look at what happened here. We printed you got C because our score is 55. Sorry, you got C and our score is 65, which is greater than 50. So let me give you another analogy. Let's say you ask, instead of doing else if, why don't I just use if. Now let me change this to now to like if. And I'm just like statement after the like statement, I have to put the semicolon. So let me change this to if again. Let's change that to if. Let me just commit this statement. Now, if I run this code, something strange will happen. Let me run tests. If you look at it now, something strange happened. It's printed you got C, you got D, you got E. Why? Because 55 is greater than 40, 55 is greater than 45, and 55 is greater than 50. That is why these three blocks of code ran. So that's why we have to use the else if statement. So let me reverse everything. Just like I said before, the use of an else if statement is if one condition is met, the code stop. It doesn't go to check the rest of the condition. So now, just like now, since our score is greater than, like I told you, the compiler starts from the top and it checks. So now it checks this first condition. Is score greater than 70? No, it did not run this block of code. It checked the next condition. Is our score greater than 60? No, it skipped this code. It checked the next condition. Is our score greater than 50? Yes, repeated, you got C. And it skipped the other blocks of code. It did not need to go around that blocks of code. But if you kept using if statement, it will go and check again. It would not stop like here. Like now, if you notice before, if you just printed you got C, it skipped the rest of the block of code. But if you keep using if statement, it will not skip. It will make sure it runs the other blocks of code. So let me bring out the flow chart of if, else if, and else statement. So now, if you look at here, it checks the first condition. If the condition is met, it runs this code and ends. If it's false, it goes to the second condition to check. Just like our code, if you notice, it's to go to the next condition and check. If this condition is met, it's to run this code and ends. Also, if this condition is false, also, it goes to the next condition and check. If the condition is true, it goes down around the blocks of code and ends the statement. Now again, it can keep on going. Just like I said, you can have a lot of else if statements. It's unlimited after an if statement. We can have only one else statement. So now let's say you're done with your conditions now. None of them are met. You have to put an else statement to say, okay, fine. None of my conditions are met. What else do I do? It runs the else statement and end. So that's all for the if and else statements. If you're a complete beginner, this might be confusing to you at first. I advise you go back, you watch the video, try to play with and if and else if statement. You can do something like a basic calculator. You can read a basic calculator where you can use use if and else if statements. So just go ahead and play with it. A complete beginner, it will be very confusing to you at first, but go back, you watch the video and try to play with the if and else statements. Everything will get clear. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, you can drop them on the comment section. I'll always reply to your comments and your questions. Also, you can feel free to DM me if you need any assistance. My DM are open. You can check for my Telegram handle and X handle on the YouTube page. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.